Welcome to Esalen Live, where we chat with change agents and swim deep waters in an ongoing exploration of human potential. I'm Christine Chen, your host. If you've ever been curious about the medicinal power of mushrooms, now's your time to learn as we explore the science of psilocybin with Entheowheel, which will be hosting its first 3-day workshop at Esalen in just a few weeks. The creator, Dream Mullick, is with us today on Esalen Live. Hi there, Dream.
Hi, Christine. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so great to meet you and see you. Looks like a beautiful day at Esalen. Welcome to Esalen Live. You know, so many people are curious because the Western world, and especially during this pandemic with the talk of vaccines, sees medicines as one type of thing generally in the Western world, but so much integration and blending is happening more than ever before. Would you say that's the case?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think that the longing to have a holistic experience and understanding of Western medicine and synergizing that with more Eastern medicine and indigenous ways is very much alive for us.
Mm. And then what would you say does this science offer, especially during this time as we really are focused on health and well-being?
Well, I mean, I would say that it's more than just the science, right? Entheowheel is the amalgamation of the ceremony and the science of these sacred plant medicines and psychedelics. And that's really where we get into the wisdom of the more than human intelligence and how that connects and informs our intelligence and understanding of our systems. You know, one of our faculty, for example, is Sachin Patel, and he really speaks to our inner doctor. He's a functional medicine doctor, but really speaks to our inner doctor and the connection between that relationship and then those of the guides and experts that are there to help us understand our own innate wisdom.
Yeah, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, we're with Dream Mullick, the creator of Entheowheel, and talking about the medicinal power of mushrooms, the science of psilocybin with Entheowheel in a whole approach. And the heart of it seems to be the idea of integrating this with the ceremony and the rituals. So if you have any questions along the way, feel free to float them in the comments and then send Dream a little bit of love as she shares this information with us. Dream, as you're talking about the rituals and the ceremony as this full approach integrating mushrooms and psilocybin, can you explain what we're seeing and how this might be part of the experience that people would encounter with Entheowheel?
Absolutely. I mean, as you know, Christine, this is a new model, right? This is a new model for Esalen. This is a new model for those of us that are creating Entheowheel, where we're really bridging the worlds between the land and Esalen and that Esalen experience that is lived and embodied here, and then the virtual world, and then even moving that into the greater context of a future e-course. And so what we have done to help guide participants along the way is create a gift or an offering in the form of a blessing basket that everyone who participates in the course will receive. And included in that blessing basket is a whole curation of ceremonial items to help you build an altar, to help you connect with, while we're having bathing rituals at Esalen, you'll have the opportunity to have that at home, whether you have a bath or whether you pour a bowl of water and kind of learn to connect with that. Jotima, who is one of our lead guides and faculty, is a grandmother who brought together the 13 indigenous grandmothers, and she'll be sharing how to build an altar. And you'll receive some curated items along the lines of, big surd jade that you saw in the image, and copal and medicines that would normally be on an altar in a traditional Mazotec ceremony, cacao. That will be gifted to you so that you can create that at home should you choose.
Yeah, and so the idea of this is to really explore the potential of how this could work in your real life. What do you think about that? What would you offer to people who are curious about this?
Yeah. I mean, part of the original inspiration, I'll go a little bit into this story. When I was 15 years old, I had my first psilocybin experience, and it was transformative and life-changing. And at the same time, I was, had experienced a lot of early childhood trauma and was looking for a rite of passage. And, as I kind of sat down to dream in this curriculum, I thought about that experience, and I imagined like what it might be like had I had a guide like Francoise Borzat to be able to work with down in Mexico, or even read Consciousness Medicine, her book, which is one of the, suggested foundational texts for this, or a guide like Jyoti or Sochil, who is helping to bring together one of the simulated journeys. And I thought, like, what would that be like if I could give people that toolbox, right? If each of us had some context for preparing and experiencing a really well-held ceremony, and then integrating that, which is really the true medicine, into our daily lives, so that we might feel more healthy, feel more joy, feel more love.
Jill, thank you for your comment that life as a ceremony, and she's in love with that idea as well. So, any of you have any comments or questions for Dream about this ceremony, ritual, this type of approach to well-being, please definitely float it into the comments. And then, can you take us break through a breakdown of some of the components of this approach for those of us who, and I'll admit, know very little about it?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of a breakdown of Entheowheel itself, I mean, Entheowheel itself is an 8-part series, and this first 3-day experience is focused on the ceremony and science of psilocybin. And essentially, we'll be going through a whole variety of different offerings, from land blessings to fireside chats with Paul Stamets and Jotima and Sochil, weaving together origin stories of the medicine, to a series of simulated journeys. And what that really looks like, is taking both modern and more indigenous ancient ceremony and offering that in a way where you can connect with what it might be like to have a well-held ceremony without any medicine use. Because, again, to be really clear, this invitation is to develop a relationship with guides, with set and setting, with context and framework for preparing, with intention, and then with integration, so that should you choose to have a future experience, you have context and framework. Or if you've had work with these medicines in the past and you just want to deepen your understanding, that's there. So these simulated journeys will be using, traditional prayers and ceremonies. Will be using music and sound and meditation and visualization. Louis Schwartzberg, who was the creator of Fantastic Fungi, is going to be sharing some of his incredible footage that's being used as part of the psilocybin and alcohol studies in LA. So it's really an amalgamation of kind of new and ancient, and an invitation to explore what an altered state of consciousness is, or a non-ordinary experience that then may become more ordinary for you.
Right. And the education piece that you described so beautifully is the important part of this particular workshop that you're offering coming up at Esalen. But Ashima, and I'm unsure how to pronounce your last name, so I'm going to just say Ashima, which I hope I got right. She asked the question, hi there, and hi there, Ashima. What do you think about microdosing with psilocybin? Do you have any experience with that? Dream, are you able to answer that question?
I am able to answer that question. I've traveled all over the world in places where psilocybin is legal. And so I've had some beautiful experiences in that way. And Jim Fadiman actually is joining our faculty, and he'll be sharing, I believe he'll be on Sunday's schedule. But I have to confirm that. It could be Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon session. And he is really one of the world's experts on microdosing. And I myself have had profound experience in just shifting low-level kind of depression tendencies. And I really want to say, to our greater collective community, like, we're in the midst of a huge transition collectively, right? Some of us are experiencing this as the 6th mass extinction. And that if we're not feeling some of this, whether it's individually or collectively, perhaps we're not paying attention. So microdosing has just been a profound way to come into relationship for me with this medicine in a way that feels, for me, very safe and supportive.
Mm. Thank you so much for that question. We appreciate it. We do have more questions coming in as well. So
Mhm.
if you have them, please float them into the comments. We're with Dream Mullick, the creator of Entheowheel, and discussing the science of psilocybin and the medicinal power of mushrooms. Here is a question from Terry Guthrie here. And he asks, any suggestions for spine pain and anxiety? And is that something you feel comfortable answering, Dream?
I mean, I'm no expert, and so I really don't give medical advice. I can say personally, I've actually had some spine pain and have worked with some anxiety, and have found, that it's, again, like none of these medicines are the magic bullet, right? It's really not about that. It's about this holistic model and creating this relationship with the innate wisdom that lives within us, and then the higher intelligence, from my perspective, of the non-human and the fungi, and how we work together with that. We work together with our guides. We work together with our intentions to come into more wholeness and healing and health.
And then there's another comment here. I believe there will be a research study by a university in Holland on microdosing with depression. Like you're saying, there's so many applications, so many ways to explore this. Who are the kinds of people, individuals, human beings that might be right for this, who might be not so right for this? Is there some kind of caution that you would provide for any of us to maybe go a little slowly with this in our inquiry?
Absolutely. I mean, on the one sense, like there's a sense of like so many people, um, struggling to kind of connect with themselves, with each other, with collective community, with the natural world. I mean, the pandemic, if anything, illuminated that so many of us were lonely together, right? And so on the one hand, like there's a great need for extra support and tools and practices to really bring us into a holistic relationship and connection. And then on the other hand, there is like the need to be very much supported, which is part of what we're illustrating in this experience. It's even why we've onboarded Zendo, for example, that's MAPS harm reduction group, to support during one of our simulated journeys, not because we are endorsing the use of medicine, but instead because we understand that even in a simulated non-ordinary experience, you can have things can arise, but also we're creating the foundational understanding for what it is to have peer-to-peer support, what it is to have guide support. And so if you're in kind of a more acute situation, then there are other resources for you. And also it's really just, again, creating the right relationships, guides, containers, experience, so that when you come out of a journey, you're supported and can actually integrate. So
Mm,
it's very much individual. And then also there's a collective need, right? Which is why
mm.
we're feeling this psychedelic renaissance happening.
Yeah, people are really more curious than ever before about how to be well. I mean, it's maybe such an appropriate time to just ask questions about anything that can help you at this time. You have someone on your team, Francoise, and this is a quote from her. This learning journey is about the teachings, principles, and spirit of the psilocybin mushroom. It is not about having a personal, non guided journey at home. The invitation is to receive these teachings and practices for preparation, allowing yourself to be transported through integration, which is everything that you've been talking about during this session that we've been having. Can you share what people might take away if they come to the weekend at Esalen practically in their real
Absolutely. Well,
lives?
thank you.
Hmm.
Absolutely. I can. And thank you for sharing that quote from Francois. She's been an amazing guide and mentor and inspiration as part of this curriculum. While she's not joining us live or live stream, she is sharing a really beautiful pre-recorded transmission that will help set kind of the foundation and context for people. They'll receive that from her prior to joining us. And so just to kind of reframe your question, you're asking what are some of the takeaways that someone might have in joining this 3-day live. Is that correct,
Exactly.
Christine?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, my greatest invitation is to really meet like that longing to reconnect with ourselves, to reconnect with our greater communities, to reconnect with the natural world, and perhaps that which is beyond the natural world, that intelligence that some of us know as the great mystery or the divine or the sacred, and come out of this experience having some deeper levels of tools in your toolbox, and so that you can bring more presence into your daily life. Like that's really, beyond peak experiences, the real integration in medicine comes with like when you meet the edge, right? Or you're in the grocery store and you're just dealing with the checkout lady and you're more present because you feel that in your system. There's a more of a bounce in your step. You have more capacity to meet your day-to-day living. And
Mm,
that's really what we're trying to offer is that context for that and some tools and support around that.
I love the way you just said that. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the fact that this is a socially distanced program, so you're going to be offering this in a different way. I know in the
It is.
past, and yeah, this is a beautiful picture of, I think, 2019, before all these things that we've been going through together as a greater society. Can you describe what might shift if people have come before and they want to come again, or if they're concerned about
Absolutely.
the effect of the pandemic on this workshop?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, what a beautiful photo. And that was most of our amazing faculty from 2019, except Michael Pollan was missing from that image. And that was, a much larger, more conference oriented, more didactic gathering where this is really focused on embodiment and experience. And while our event at Esalen itself is very much going to be a small, more intimate experience because of the pandemic and outside, socially distanced outside, we're really working to bridge the world. So we're bringing in ways that we can bring, Paul Stamets from Canada around the fireside chat, with the grandmother Jyoti and with Sochil, and then with you all in the audience, and bring you in more directly to engagement with the community. We're going to have all kinds of breakout opportunities and cohorts being formed and buddy systems being formed, so that there's to the best of our capacity, we're going to bring this experience into your living room and ways for you to connect where you are.
Hmm. So much flexibility in just even asking the questions and being curious and maybe even arriving to just leave it open. Weeks. The Ceremony and Science of Psilocybin, April. There's a question of whether this is online. And I think, let me just ask you, because I'm actually quite unsure of this as well. Is this in person and online or just in person?
No, we're inviting actually you to join us virtually. Like that's really where we have space to receive you. And we've actually even capped that at 350 seats so that we can keep it really intimate and make sure that with this first, experiment that we're in together, that you guys are joining us really for this historic moment for Esalen, where we're bridging the very small live experience with the virtual experience. So that's what's available for you all that are listening now, is to join us virtually.
Okay, so the workshop in person and digitally, April 23rd through 26th. I think more information is available on our website, esalen.org. Dream Mullick, it's just been a pleasure speaking with you today. Any last
No,
words for
thank you
us
so
as we,
much, Christine.
yeah, any last
Yeah,
words for
no,
anyone who's curious?
yeah, deep gratitude for all of you out there that are curious about really expanding and exploring your connection with yourself and with that which is greater, and the non-human intelligence of all the sacred plants that are coming alive to really support us right now at this critical moment in human history and in the evolution of our consciousness. Thank you.
Thank you. Dream Mullick from Entheowheel. Stay connected, everybody. Check out all of our offerings, esalen.org. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Stay well, be healthy, keep exploring. Bye, Dream.
Bye, Christine. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Beautiful day, everyone.